Hi, Rich Carrubba for bowlingball.com. I want to talk to you a little bit about the bowling ball evolution that we've witnessed over the past half century or even longer. Uh, we we know that bowling balls today are so predominant that can overcome a variety of lane conditions, that can be a tool. There's a tool available to you by all the leading manufacturers that can give you a chance to match up against most lane conditions you'll ever encounter. Certainly in league play and most of the time in tournament play as well, regardless of your skill level. You know, the bowling ball evolution, it all started years ago when bowling was first introduced. I believe Brunswick had a mineral light bowling ball, and it goes forward from there. We have an article at Bowlversity called Bowling Ball Evolution, and you probably passed right over it as you got down to watch this video. If you read the article, it'll give you a little history leading into the development of the bowling ball. But basically, picking it up from the 1960s forward, the last 50 years or so, bowling balls were started out with the rubber compound. They were, as you know, predominantly pretty low friction bowling balls. Those cover stocks didn't produce a lot of traction on the lane conditions, but we had softer lane finishes, lacquer finishes. They didn't have the urethane lane finishes at that time. They certainly didn't have synthetic lanes. And so the rubber balls were kind of what everybody had in their hand when they bowled. In the 60s, in the late 60s, and actually becoming popular around 1970 was the plastic ball, the polyester bowling ball. Some of the companies that made them most famous was notably Columbia and then Brunswick. The plastic bowling ball kind of began to change, or the metamorphosis, if you will, of bowling ball technology. Although the hardness wasn't much different on the cover stock from rubber to plastic, the plastic ball gave a nice clean slide on the front end of the lane. It didn't grab the lane quite as quickly, so you could still roll the ball slowly. You could spin it. You can conserve energy and get a good, sharper backhand reaction. It was a good, versatile bowling ball, particularly when the industry changed from the lacquer lane finishes to the non-red label urethane lane finishes. Well, then as things evolved, right around 1973 on the Pro Bowlers Tour, the granddaddy of the soaker era was Don McCune. The bowlers experimented at that time with soaking bowling balls in chemicals to make the cover stock softer, to create more surface friction and overall hook, so they could play the lanes at different angles, use the oil pattern differently on the tour, and we saw scores improve. Well, the industry was quick to ban the soaker bowling ball because of safety issues. So what happened next was very simply manufacturers made softer and more of a higher friction type of polyester material. They used to be called bleeders. They actually would be more oil soaked and more resins would come out of the cover stock and would help grab the lane. And that was the first real step after the soaker era was banned to moving in the mid-70s to moving toward a more aggressive cover stock. And lo and behold, it didn't take the industry long. About 1980 came the first urethane bowling ball out of polyurethane cover stock materials. And that bowling ball was pretty dominant for several years, and then the industry began to even tweak that and expand that further. It was about 10 years that ball was in use, and all the manufacturers had varieties of it with different friction factors. It changed the game. It changed the game from skid roll hook to skid hook roll patterns. The bowling balls reacted differently on the lanes, created different alignments. Power players were allowed to use the ball and circle the boards instead of going down and in like in the plastic and rubber ball era. The whole game changed, and certainly it did on the PBA Tour, and all the people watching the telecast made those changes as well. So we saw the influx of the cranker, the power players come from the development of the urethane ball, and it didn't stop when the first reactive resin ball was made around 1990. And then throughout the 90s, the reactive resin ball became more popular. All the manufacturers developed their versions, and into the 2000s, and now we have various degrees of reactive resin balls. We have solid reactive, pearl reactive, we have hybrid reactives, then we have particle cover stocks. All those different cover stocks give a different ball reaction capability, so each player can choose the tool that matches best to the lane conditions they most frequently bowl on. So we're really lucky to be living in an exciting era of choosing the tool you want to use on the lane conditions you want. You know, other than golf, who has modernized their equipment, their golf club technology, and particularly the golf ball technology, and bowling, who has developed the bowling ball technology, most of the other sports that we can think of where a ball is involved, the ball really hasn't changed very much, or if any at all, in the last 50, 60 years, like we've seen in bowling. So it's kind of unique because now that bowlers can, although the scores are higher, we have to attribute that to a lot of things, not just the bowling balls. Although I think the bowling balls are a big contributor to higher scores, it's certainly more sophisticated lane machines and technology in the lane machines and the type of oils used. The surfaces, lane surfaces are better. You see mostly synthetic surfaces today. There's many, many reasons why the scores are higher. However, the bowling balls certainly do contribute to that cause. A lot of people like it, some people don't. It's a lot of fun to watch high scores. It's a lot of fun to see people get honor scores. But in our industry, we've seen a dramatic reduction in league bowler count in the last 30 years. At one time from maybe over 9 million men and women sanctioned league bowlers in the USBC down to 2 million. There's been a substantial knockdown. A lot of it comes from attrition. Bowling centers closing because they got older. People having to work. More people at home have to work now multiple jobs and can't bowl leagues as often as they once did. A lot of reasons for it. The price of bowling is a lot more. So there's things that have caused us to lose bowler count. And we can't blame bowling balls for all of it. Bowling balls are only the means to an end. But if you're interested in posting your comments on our site about influence of bowling ball on the sport itself, on the game, on the competitive aspect of it, on it recreationally, feel free to do so. Just put your comments in underneath the article in Bowlversity section of our website under Bowling Ball Evolution article. You're invited to do so. We thank you for your time today.